I am not one to enjoy shitting on movies, but there is one exception that came out this year, and I really want to talk about it because it is, without question, one of the most unsettling and weird movies that I've ever seen in my life. You've probably heard about it, but it's called Sasquatch Sunset, and it came out a couple months ago in theaters, and oh my gosh, I can't even begin to explain how bad this movie is. But honestly, it's a fun movie to talk about because of just how much there is to talk about it. So let's talk about Sasquatch Sunset. If you like these kind of videos, make sure to like and subscribe for more of them. But anyways, let's get into this discussion. So basically, Sasquatch Sunset is about a family of Sasquatch in a forest, and throughout the entire hour-and-a-half runtime, there is not one word spoken. All we hear are like moans, groans, and yells, and it is very, very, very strange. But the premise of the movie is to go through the life of what a Sasquatch family would most likely do in the forest. Now, on paper, that's actually a pretty interesting concept, and overall, some things I liked about it were the costume design and the cinematography. I think those two things were fantastic. But the fact that this movie is an hour and a half and not a short film is really upsetting because the premise, like I said, is pretty interesting, but for an hour and a half of watching this unfold is some of the most painful things your eyes will ever witness. Essentially, we are thrown into the lives of Sasquatch and what they get up to every single day of their lives. We are going to be getting into some very uncomfortable territory because I just have to explain as to what kind of stuff this movie does that really makes people uncomfortable in the theater, but here we go. But again, warning for people who are easily uncomfortable when it comes to talking about body parts, sexual stuff, because we're going to get into that, because this movie has a lot of that stuff. So this movie opens up on two young Sasquatches who, from a distance, are watching their mom and dad have sex in the forest, and it is rough. And it goes on for like 30 seconds of just the camera staying on them while, oh my gosh, while they are having sex. And it is so, like, jarring. Like, you would not see this in a typical movie. And it's like, because they're Sasquatch, they are able to do this kind of stuff. And it is really uncomfortable because the kids are watching it from a distance and it's just like, oh my gosh. And then the mother, Sasquatch, becomes pregnant, and there's a scene where she's by herself and she ends up pleasuring herself to an extent, but then she ends up like smelling her finger, and it's just like, I know it's just like the human anatomy, but it was just so uncomfortable to watch because of all of these things that are just happening over time. But if we fast forward a couple minutes, we are shown the whole family together, and the father is just this really, really, really bad, like, I can't say person because it's a Sasquatch, but a really bad being. Just horrible. Like, always trying to, like, SA his wife, and there's moments where there's a moment where he's trying to have sex with a mountain lion because he's on mushrooms after eating a plant, and the next scene, he's being eaten by that mountain lion, and it's just like, what am I watching? To give you some context as to what my experience was like, I saw this when I was at Sundance at the beginning of 2024, and I had seen this movie before it got released in theaters like 5 months later, and I saw it on its world premiere. And mind you, usually with world premieres at Sundance, they have the cast and the director come out on stage to talk about the film, but nope. None of them came out on the stage to watch it. And it wasn't even on a big screen. It was in a smaller theater, and there was probably like 100-ish people in the theater. And throughout its runtime, we got like halfway through the movie, and over half the theater got up and left. And honestly, I don't blame them because of just how uncomfortable this movie is. Now, I can understand the idea of art. I can understand really going into that direction that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily go in to make a movie that's this jarring, this inappropriate, and just this overall just craziness. But there comes a point where it's like, okay, are we really trying to experiment the idea as to what a Sasquatch life is, or are we really trying to just come up with the most obscene and disgusting, vile thing so that we can put on screen for people to watch? Because that's honestly what it feels like. It feels like they just had, like in the writer's room, they were just like, okay, what's the most disgusting thing that we can come up with? And then what's something that's 10 times more disgusting than that? And we're going to put that in this script. And seriously, I think that's probably what they were doing, because over the course of the movie, it just got more and more and more disgusting. And I'm someone that really likes to be optimistic about movies and their ideas, so I was actually excited for this movie. I was excited to see what they could do without having any dialogue, without, having any people or humans in it. And it was a really interesting idea. But for maybe a 10 to 15 minute short film, because it does have a nice plot or a nice message as to wildlife and the destruction of forests, which is a pretty heavy topic. But this movie focused way too on trying to be funny with its inappropriate nature, and it just did not sit right with me. And the absolute craziest thing is that IGN gave this movie a 10 out of 10. I do not understand that. It's one of the only movies from 2024 that has gotten a 10 out of 10. And as far as the other critics go, like Rotten Tomatoes, I think has it at like a 71%. IMDb currently has like a 5.8. So it's really just super divided reviews on every single platform. But no, this is not a 10 out of 10. I would say that this might be a 10 out of 10 if it was a short film. And I will keep repeating myself on that fact, because sometimes feature films just need to be short films. They don't always need to be the long version of the film. Some movies, some stories deserve to be short films, because short films are amazing. Short films are powerful. You tell a very cohesive, very compelling story within, 10 to 25 minutes, and it's a great short film. And the fact that they decided to make this a long feature was just one of the biggest mistakes possible. Now, this stars Jesse Eisenberg, and you can't really even recognize which of these Sasquatches are him. But yeah, he's in makeup for the Sasquatch sunset, and it's kind of insane how good the makeup is. I will say, the makeup is amazing. And I hate saying that this is easily one of the worst movies of the year, but it could get an Oscar nomination for the makeup, because it is some of the best makeup and costume of the year. It is amazing. So if I have anything to praise this movie for, it's that. Because, oh my gosh, you cannot tell who the actor or actress is. It is that good. And they actually look like Sasquatch. They don't look like someone's in a costume. They did such an amazing job putting together a costume for this. So that's where most of the budget went, I think, was that. And it really is just a bummer that this movie sucks. But we are not done talking about the craziness of this movie, because there are some insane things that happen in this movie. One scene that is really graphic that I'm about to talk to you about. So graphic. It's really graphic and disgusting. So beware. But this is the moment that everyone started to walk out. Like the majority of the people that walked out of the theater, they all started to walk out at this specific moment. And I mean, it is just like, I really wanted to walk out, but I wanted to finish the movie so that I had things to talk about. So basically, near the end of the movie, after the father had died, the mother is pregnant, and with her two sons, and they walk out and they see a road or a highway, and they have never ever seen something like that before. They've never seen a highway, they've never seen pavement, they've never seen something like that. and they start having like reactions, like they start freaking out. And honestly, you know, they probably, like animals having never seen something like that before, probably would have freakouts because, you know, this is so new to them because they're only used to the forest. But they were like, you know, instead of being excited, we're gonna have them piss and shit all over the place. So yeah, that's basically what happens. Basically, the kids, this is graphic. YouTube honestly might take the video down for me describing this, but the kids start peeing everywhere. And the mom also starts to pee on the ground, but not only does she start to pee, she starts to excessively shit herself on this pavement. And then, okay, so you know they're animals, so they're not wearing any clothes, so she's completely naked throughout the whole entire movie. So she ends up squeezing her breasts together and squirting milk all over the place. I am not kidding. This is what this whole movie is stuff like this. That was easily the craziest part. And it's, sorry, I'm just thinking about it now, and it's like I have no words. But that was the craziest part. If there's one other thing that I can give this movie credit for, is its message of, you know, the wilderness and the, you know, deforestation. It is there is one moment, and I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone who actually like wants to see this, but basically quite a bit of the Sasquatches pass away. I think two of them do. I think two of them pass away. And one of them, I think it was one of the sons, was playing on this log, this tree that had gotten cut down by, you know, deforesters, and it was in this river, and he was just playing on top of it, and then he ends up falling, and then the tree stump ends up rolling onto his like lower part of his legs, so he ends up getting like trapped on the water, and then it keeps rolling, and then it ends up pushing him underwater, and the other Sasquatches are like losing their mind trying to move this, and then he ends up dying by drowning. And that was actually a pretty powerful moment because, you know, it makes us understand that, you know, it's not only the homes that we're taking away when we cut down forests, but also it's the after effects as to what they could do. It's not taking away their homes, but it's also the fact that, you know, these animals have no idea what kind of issues are at hand. They're just going to die because of situations like this. So that was a pretty powerful moment, I will say. But I wish there was more of that in this movie rather than it just trying to be as gross as possible, because that is how gross this movie is. It's really, really, really uncomfortable and gross. But anyways, I just really want to talk about Sasquatch Sunset because the movie is absolutely insane. It's nuts. And I would recommend and like people watch it if just to like have the experience, because it's a wild ride. And it's not a recommendation like you have to see this movie. It is a masterpiece. No, it's not like that. The only reason I say to watch this movie is to just understand why I'm describing it the way I am, because I'm not lying. This is exactly what happens in the movie. And I skipped a couple of the parts that happen in the movie. There are more. There's more weird stuff that happen. And I mean, I can respect the vision. I really, really, really can. But the fact that this movie had been getting all those kind of reviews, like 10 out of 10s and stuff like that, makes zero sense to me. Because not only was this a disgrace to like filmmaking, but I mean, just a disgrace to the viewers' like attention span, because this is just one of the craziest and unhinged movies I've ever seen. But anyways, that'll bring us to the end of my discussion of Sasquatch Sunset. I wouldn't say it's a review, it's more or less just a discussion and kind of a recommendation, but not really. But like I said at the beginning of the video, if you like these kind of videos, make sure to like and subscribe for more. But that brings you to the end of this video. Thank you so much for sticking around. I appreciate every single one of you. And remember, your movie moment is right around the corner. See you in the next video.